My name's Dave, and this is the Dave Cave. Welcome to my channel, Wheel Ride for Beer. Today, I want to go over bikepacking and how to plan for it, how to set up your first trip. If you've ever thought of bikepacking, but just don't know how to get started, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through all the things you need to know so you can take your first bikepacking trip and enjoy it. There is a wonderful world out there that needs exploring, and it is so fantastic to do it by bike. So today's topics will include training. Yeah, you got to do a little bit of training. Nutrition. You'll be surprised how important nutrition is. Credit card or camping. Bike packing is supposed to be camping, but there's a nice way to enter it without the camping part. How do you find your route? I'll go over ways you can find some great routes. Safety. Cooking. Some people choose not to cook. Let's look at both of these options, cooking or not cooking. What do you do with the bathroom? Let's talk about it. It's got to be discussed. And then I'll show you what I bring, and you can tailor this around what is more comfortable for you. I didn't know what to call this video. Is it Bikepacking 101? Is it Ready, Fire, Aim? I'll come back to that in a minute. But this video is going to show you how to go bikepacking and not get all wrapped up in all the things that you got to have. I am going to show you the things that I bring on my bikepacking trip, but it doesn't mean you have to bring yours. But I am going to tell you why I brought what I brought. So what I want to do is boil this down to something simple. You probably have most of the things that you already need for bikepacking. If you don't have camping gear, that's okay. There's other ways to do this. If you have a bike, you do need a bike. You're gonna have to have a bike and a helmet. And that's really the main things you're gonna need. And what do I mean by ready, fire, aim? I'm an entrepreneur. I've started several businesses. So this concept really kind of hits home with me. When you're starting a business, you can get caught into analyzing way too many details. It's called analysis paralysis. And you do want to do some homework. You do want to analyze things. But the ready, fire, aim idea really makes sense to me. It's you get ready, go ahead and shoot the gun, and then try to aim it after the bullet's already left. You could spend your whole life analyzing and getting the equipment, getting the right stuff, and it's never going to be perfect. So take what you've got, go out and see the world and enjoy it. And after you do one or two, you'll start piecing in the things that you need. That is the absolute best way to do it, is just get out there and just do it. So my first topic is training. You got to put in the training. Now, I have no medical degree. I know nothing about sports nutrition. This is my disclaimer. I can't tell you if you're physically fit enough to do something like this. So if there's any question, get an okay from your doctor that you can do this training. Assuming you are a healthy individual, for the training, I have not found anything that really helps cycling from a cross-training perspective. I think cardiovascular-wise, probably anything will help. Running, swimming, all that's just good for your cardiovascular system. But to actually help cycling, I have not found any sport that is a good cross-trainer for that sport. Therefore, all I can find to do is ride my bike. And you've got to put in the hours. You got to put in the miles. So if a bikepacking adventure is on your radar, right now, this is November 2024, but if you're thinking about maybe doing something in the spring, you should start training. It takes me, now I'm 61, I know it takes my body a while to ramp up. Younger people can get it done a lot quicker. I try to maintain about 100 miles a week. in cycling. Most of my training now will be done indoors, so it's hard to make, my system doesn't account for mileage, so I have to base it on the number of hours. And I think somewhere around 7 hours per week, an hour a day is going to get close to getting what I feel is an appropriate level to at least maintain something for me. Now don't freak out at that. If you've never done many endurance sports before, that may sound like a lot, but if you break it down into an hour a day, it's really not. And don't start exactly at 1 hour every day. You can ramp up with this. You can do 15 minutes the first day, 20 minutes the second day. Take some breaks. Don't exercise every day. Your body needs that rest to heal and to get stronger. But once you've got a base down, you do want to start to crank that up a notch. And there are a few good little exercises you can do if you're indoors that can help increase your stamina and increase your cycling ability. So I'm not the best one to devise a training program for you. I can tell you what I do. What I do, most of the time, I am just constant pedaling in my basement. But I do like to crank up the gears to the highest level and do about a minute worth of hard standing out of the seat, cranked all the way down, pedaling as if I was climbing. I'm also a big believer in intervals. Intervals would just be, you can do this on a harder gear or a faster cadence, a faster spin. You'll go hard for 30 seconds or a minute and then ease back. And you can vary that time sequence and you can vary the number of intervals. And there are certain specific ways that people will tell you how to do. I'm not here to advise you on that, but I am a big believer that intervals are a fantastic way to train. You can get a lot more bang for the buck in a short period of time. I can do a 15 to 20 minute workout with intervals and I can be wiped out. Whereas I can just sit there and spin on the bike for an hour or two and really not get that much of exercise from it. The cycling classes they offer at the YMCA or some of those other bike shops, I think, are fantastic additions to your workout, and especially for the winter months. It's a great way to really get a good workout in a relatively short period of time. They can be a fantastic way to train. The downside with training indoors is the long ride. And to me, the long ride is the most critical piece, especially as you're starting to get closer to your anticipated day to start. You need to feel the discomfort that a long ride brings. If you're planning on doing a 5-hour biking trip, you need to experience what it feels like to go 3, 4, 5 hours on the bike. Things happen after 3 hours that you don't normally feel on a short ride. You'll find the hot spots in your body. And by that, those things that can happen include cramping, which I get a lot of, stomach issues from your nutrition. You'll find different places on your body that get sore. For me, it's my shoulders and the arch of my left foot. You'll also get to work through riding in discomfort. And this to me is probably the most critical thing. When you're uncomfortable, you want to stop. But it's amazing how far you can push your body when you're hurting. I can ride through cramps because I've done it. I can ride up mountains while both legs are cramping because I've done it. So I know that if I get to that point, although it may hurt and be very uncomfortable, if I have to keep on continuing, I can do it. So a lot of this is preparing your mind, your mental aspect for being able to overcome problems, because you're going to face problems in bikepacking trips. I'm not trying to scare you. I want you to do this because it is so rewarding. It is so much fun. And there are just incredible, beautiful places out there that you can explore on a bike that you can't really see in a car, or even as good on a bike pack or a backpacking trip. So again, this is not a training video. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a sports med guy. I'm not a sports nutritional guy. These are the things that I do. And probably somewhere you ought to be doing some of these close to it. But check with a medical professional if there's any question on your mind. Ideally, I like to do a long ride each week. I like to do one interval each week. And then I like to just do the other rides where I'm just pedaling, just getting the cardio going. If I can get 4 or 5 rides in a week during my normal warm days, then I'll get 7 to 10 hours of training in out of that. Again, I'm in the winter months right now, so if I can get 6 to 7 rides and get about 7 hours in my basement, that can get me pretty close to where I need, but it doesn't give me the long ride. I want to talk briefly about nutrition. You do have to experiment with what works for your system. When I first started doing endurance sports, Gatorade, that's what I went with. And it's okay up to a certain point. For me, the magic number seems to be at around 3 hours. That's when my body just can't take any more of the sugars. And I get a very upset stomach. But if you're doing a long bike ride and there are places to stop, I'm gonna have to get some Gatorade occasionally. So you're gonna have to have water, you're gonna have to have the electrolytes, and you're gonna have to have calories. If you look at these guys that do the Tour de France, they're all that big around. They are burning an enormous amount of calories, and they are constantly eating. I've got a little belly to contend with, but I am eating and drinking constantly on my long bike rides. Your body can only absorb so much nutrients, and you've got to be constantly replenishing it. If you wait until you're hungry or wait until you're thirsty, you waited too long. You can't catch up, or it's very hard to catch up. Start in the first 10 minutes of the long ride. Start eating, start drinking. You need to be drinking a bottle of fluids every hour. At least that's what my body requires. Some people can drink a lot less, but I know for me, that's what I need. And the calories, your body can only absorb a few hundred calories every hour. So there's no reason to put 1,000 calories in every hour, but you need to have a little bit going in all the time so that your body can constantly use it and then get it replenished. You got to take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Everybody's different. Younger people can do a lot more than older people can. They can go a lot longer without the food and water. But you've just got to you've got to get to the point that you know what works for you. So don't get bogged down in what I'm telling you and think it's too much to worry about. Just know you want to be drinking and eating a little bit all the time. Every 10 minutes is the ideal rule. Go through a bottle of water in an hour. If you're drinking every 10 minutes, that should do it. There's all these little things you can buy from the running stores, goo, and a lot of them have sugar in them. Sugars are great. They're quick and instant energy, but you also need something that's going to stick with you a little bit longer. So just experiment with what works for you. So I get asked a lot, is what I do safe? No, it's not. And that's what makes it fun. There is an element of danger with all of this. You've got traffic, you've got certainly crashes, you've got insects, you've got, if you're camping, you've got bears and other animals, you've got mechanical issues, you've got so many things that can go wrong, and it's up to you to figure it out. And if that scares you, this may not be for you. But you can mitigate a lot of those risks. You can mitigate most of them by doing the bike packing or bike touring, whatever you want to call it, a trip on the road, avoiding the camping. It would be a good idea to learn how to change a tire. That's the most mechanical thing that can happen. So you don't want to be stranded because you have a flat tire. There's 10,000, well, not 10,000 things, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a bike I can't fix. And if it breaks, if I break a chain or a spoke or some other major mechanical, I'm probably going to have to call in the cavalry, and that will be tough to do if I'm out in the back country. But if you're going from one town to another and you've got somebody close by, you can always call them and come pick you up if you get cell service. A lot of the places I ride don't have cell service. But yes, it can be dangerous. So just mitigate the risks as much as you can. As far as bringing other safety equipment, I don't take a whole lot of first aid with me. I take the very minimal things. If I get some abrasions, I can put some Band-Aids or some bandages and some little Neosporin. If it's a bad crash, I'm gonna be calling in for an ambulance, and I've had to do that before. But take the minimal things. Everything adds weight, which slows you down. More stuff to get lost and think about. So just don't worry about it. Again, ready, fire, aim. I think credit card bike touring is a wonderful way to go. It is so much fun. And you don't have to worry about as much stuff, especially if you have somebody who is taking your stuff from point A to point B. If you don't have that luxury, well, now you're kind of more bike packing, but you still don't have to bring a tent and cookware if you're staying in a hotel. So that saves a lot of the excess baggage in the room that you got to take. And it's a great introductory way to try it. I probably did 40 or more trips like that until I did my first camping trip. I didn't do my first bike camping trip until this year, and now I did 5 of those adventures this year, and it just skyrocketed my enthusiasm for this. It adds another element of wonderfulness to the bike. It is just so much fun. So if you do get the chance to camp out while you're biking, I've enjoyed it, and I think you will too. But to make it easy, start with a road trip or a greenway, something where you're not camping or having to worry about cooking. Just get from point A to point B, make it an overnight trip, and just enjoy yourself. If you're gonna go bike touring or bike camping or whatever you want to call it, take videos. I have had the best time with YouTube. No, I don't have a big fan following, and I know that. And my videos absolutely suck, but I'm getting better at it. But I really enjoy coming back and creating the videos and then watching them again. Take pictures, take videos. You don't need the expensive camera. It's amazing. This is being shot right now on a cell phone. I have a cell phone and I also have a GoPro, so I'm using both in this video. But cell phones can take absolutely wonderful videos and pictures, and you're going to want to have that to remember it. So take videos, take pictures, have a good time. That's what this is all about. So you're ready to go. How do you find a route? Well, the simple ways are just to do like you would do if you were in a car. Look on your GPS, map it out, and go. Handwrite the directions if you need to. I use a few different websites to map mine. So again, you can do all these things, and these are all free. You can just map it out like I talked about, or one of the websites I go to is Map My Fitness. It's also under Map My Run and Map My Ride, but they're all the same website. And you can go there and physically click. You can tell it to follow streets, or you're telling you're on a bicycle, and it'll help you design the best route to avoid much of the traffic. Once you've got that, I'm going to get to the bike computer in a minute, but that's an expense that you can avoid. If you don't have the money for a bike computer, just handwrite these directions out, put them in a Ziploc baggie in case it rains, and don't forget the return directions, which I've done several times. If you're going out and back, it's a lot easier to have the return directions, but you can still figure it out at least if you've got the directions from point A to point B. You may have forgotten B to A, but you can find it. I have found what is very helpful if you do this is to put the approximate distance between turns so that you know that you have a left turn in about 3.5 miles onto Main Street. What you will find in the rural communities is a lot of these roads don't have road names on them. And then all of a sudden you get to a point and your GPS doesn't work and there's no road name and you've been 3.7 miles. Did you miss the turn or is it up the road a little bit? Having those distances will help because, as you're probably well aware, if you take a wrong turn and you go 5 miles out of the way, that 5 miles just become 10 miles to get back to the starting point, which is going to add another 30, 40 minutes or more onto your trip. It's a big deal to get lost on a bike, whereas getting lost in a car is not that big of a deal. I'm in the Dave Cave. It's after 5. Might as well have a beer. That's what it's here for. The other sites I like to use, one of them is called Strava. That's a free site. It's like a social media page where you post your ride and then your buddies can give you kudos every time you do a ride, and you can give them kudos when they do a ride. But it's also a good way to find a route that's close to your home. Another website is Ride with GPS, and it's spelled out just like that, Ride with GPS. That is also a free site. There are shareable maps on that, and if you have a bike computer, you can download the map into your bike computer, and then you can be watching the turn-by-turn directions as you get to each turn, which is immensely helpful. A couple things I failed to mention about safety. You do want to be lit up like a Christmas tree if possible. I'm always riding with a red blinky light on the back and a white light on the front. I usually set it to blinking to save the battery a little bit. I like having that. I think that's just a smart idea. And again, the helmet is such a critical component. So what do I bring bikepacking? I've sort of got this, I am not a very organized person, so I've sort of got it organized by room. So this would be my kitchen, my bedroom, my bathroom. If you can get by without cooking on a camp trip, then that's great. A lot of people do that. This is my stove. It's got a burner, a nice big pot, and a cup, as well as utensils in here. My gas for the stove. I've got a couple things of coffee. I've got there's a dinner and a breakfast. So this is set up to really do an overnight already. My burner doesn't seem to light, so I always carry a lighter and I carry matches. I carry both. I don't have the matches here with me. This, just a piece of string, but it's for my bear bag. You certainly want to be safe with that. Not just bears, but raccoons. Anything can get into your food, so you want to make sure you store that away from all kinds of critters and away from your campsite. Of course, the one time I really needed this, I didn't bring it, but this is the filter, and I think really in our area, I think from what I'm reading, that is strong enough. That should take care of 99.9% of all the nasties. There are some things that can fit through that filter, but I have had to use it, and it has been great to know that I've got that. When I'm out of water, this is a great way to do that, to get some water. So you can avoid taking these if you don't need to cook, and that's certainly a very good option. And if you're going credit card bike touring, you don't even need to bring these things, staying in a hotel. So that can save down probably a whole nother pack. For my sleep system, good gosh. So again, if you're staying in a hotel, this may be 2 or 3 of my bags right here, at least 2 of them. This is my tent, and it's small enough that it will fit. I've got the drop bars, but it will fit. I carry it right there. It's a little tight, but it does work. It's designed specifically for bike packing. It's not cheap, but this is a Big Agnes. And I chose the 3-man option, so I went all out. And I have had to have a buddy stay in the tent with me. So a 3-man to me really fits 2 people and their gear. So that's why I got it. One of the most important things is keeping your body off the ground and laying on something comfortable. I only went on 5 bike packing trips this year, and I busted 2 of my sleeping pads. So I got another one. This is just a ground cloth. You can use any kind of tarp. I'm using some Tyvek that I got from a friend. And it's roughly the same footprint of my tent. I found out the hard way. You don't want it a lot bigger than the tent, because if it does rain, water falls down the side of the tent and lands on the ground cloth and actually goes under the tent, but above the ground cloth, and you get wet. So having it exactly cut as the footprint of the tent, I think, is very helpful. These other 2 things, I'm either going to bring one or the other. This is a sleeping bag that just is enormous. Ideally, you'd rather have a smaller one that you can fit into something. But again, I use what I've got. I had a sleeping bag, so I'm using it. I went bike packing in the summer for the most part, and really didn't even need a sleeping bag. So I brought the quilt thinking it would be smaller. It took up just as much room as the sleeping bag. So I'm still toying with how I'm going to work my sleep system. I've seen guys that have hammocks and other arrangements that look very interesting, but now I've got the tent. I'm sticking with it. I've just got to figure out a better way to take a blanket or some light quilt. This is too bulky for me. When I got my gravel bike, I had pedals that are both flat, so I can put regular shoes. I can ride with regular shoes. That's the wrong side, but I can ride with regular shoes on this, or I can clip in. And if you're unfamiliar with what clipping in is, there are different types of cleats. This is a mountain bike type cleat that would go in there, and the shoe would stay on. I can't push it in without weight, but the shoe will stay in. That allows you to lift up as well as push down and use more muscles and not get as fatigued as quickly with just the one muscle that you're using for biking. A lot of people, there's a lot of people like the flat for mountain biking or endurance riding, because especially if mountain biking, you're falling off a lot or need to quickly remove your foot from the pedal. And if you're clipped in like this, you have to turn your foot at an angle to unclip, and you may not have time to do that before you fall. But where I go is either gravel or road, and this helps me a lot. I can get about 20 to 30% more power from each pedal stroke, because I can pull up with one leg while I'm pushing down with the other. But this gives me the option of doing both. The pedals having flat on one side and clipped on the other. I've already mentioned that I use clip-in pedals, so I have a special bike shoe for that. And that means I've got to bring a second pair of shoes. I have found that is a big problem, taking another pair of shoes. I can almost hear the laughter from you guys at what I'm about to show you next. The amount of electronic gear I've got to carry, it's stupid. So first of all, I have two phones. I still work. I have a separate phone from my work that I do from personal. So, and I like to keep that in a Ziploc bag because I know it's got a case with it, but gosh, if it gets rain and those things get ruined, you know, I've lost so much. So I've got my phones, and I've got a little pad and paper that I can take notes on if I get a call. And of course, they got different charges on them. So I've got to bring two different sets of cables for them. I've got my rear light, which requires one of those cables, one of the types that's with my iPhone. I've got my front light, which requires a third type of cable. I've got my little bike computer, and that'll go on right here. And that takes the same type of cable as that one. I've got my drone, and there are two pieces to the drone. There's the controller and the drone itself. They both have to be charged. I have the GoPro, which I'm currently holding in my hand. So let me see how many things I have to charge. I have my GoPro, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different things that have to be charged. So I carry this. I mean, look at this is just bizarre. I've got to carry all these things. I also take a additional battery pack because if I'm camping, I probably can't charge my stuff. So that's a lot. And all this stuff, all my electronic gear, I usually put in my bag right here. I like to have my drone available pretty quickly so I can open it. It takes me 15 minutes to get that thing set up, but I like to have easy access to it, so it goes right here. The other thing that goes in this bag is my repair kit for the bike. I carry at least one tube, usually carry another one. Now, I'm running tubeless, but if I have an ultimate disaster, I want to be able to put a tube in there. And that's to repair a big blowout on a tubeless tire, so that's important. This will allow me to change the tire, and I've broken so many of these things. You usually have to have 2 of them to take the tire off, so I carry 3. I carry a pump. I used to take the little CO2 cartridges, but I have just found that's just so much more reliable and easy. I've got a multi-tool. I've got a way to break the chain. I don't know how to use this thing, but if disaster happened, I've got the tool and maybe somebody can help me. And then I usually take some of these zip ties. Just never know. Those things can be so handy for all kinds of different things. And these are the goos I was talking about. Goo. This is just a whole bunch of sugar. Get you quick energy. And yeah, I try to take these every about once an hour. I enjoy these fruit snacks a little bit better. They're not as strong as the goo, but there's something to get in my body, and the taste of fruit is very helpful. And I have some other snacks I usually take, but all these things all of this will go into this bag right here. The other things I take: mosquito repellent, some soap. You certainly want to have, if you're camping, you want to have some kind of light. This is a towel, some chain lube, and some Band-Aids. Rain gear. Man, you want to make sure you've got all your stuff protected from the weather. You don't want to have sleeping bag that's wet the next morning or that night when you arrive to your campsite. So what I'm not showing here is all the clothing that I would take. I typically take at least 2 complete kits, 2 changes of clothes for cycling. If I'm going longer, I'll even take 3 and just try to find a place to wash the pants if I can. And just 1 change of clothes, of street clothes, and then the shoes. That's the big thing. I got these little shoes that don't weigh a lot, so I can strap them on the top of my pack, and it's not that big of a deal, but shoes just take up so much room. So these are my bags, and here's what my bike looks like when it's totally set up. You can see I've got all my gear stored in, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bags. This one will go right here. These 2 are rubber, weather protected, and they'll go on this rack system here. And then I've got 2 for the front. These 2 bags will go on my handlebars, and I fill them up completely just on even short trips. If you're still with me, you ain't right. This is just so much fun to do. So I hope you will try it and enjoy it. Start small, start with what you have. Try to do one of the road rides with credit card camping at first. If you're a big camper, that might not be a big issue for you. Maybe it's the bike that's the issue. So go for a short distance, but enjoy yourself and take videos and take pictures. You will absolutely love what you have done, and you'll be proud of it. And just remember, all those tough times you're going to experience, and you will experience tough times. And every trip I do, no matter how well prepared I am, at least once or twice or more during the trip, something happens. And those are the things that make the memories, that make the trip fun and exciting and make you want to come back for more. But do the training so you can feel good mentally about pushing through those hard times. I did forget to mention the bathroom. There's all different levels of this, and it depends upon where you go. I have been fortunate in the trips I've done that I've been able to find a porta potty when needed, or some other bathroom, but you need to have a trowel, you need to bury it. Some places require you to take it out with you. You gotta get a handle on that. Other toiletries, your toothbrush, just take a toothbrush and a little bit of toothpaste, a little bit of soap. The soap that I use is actually good for dishes and for bathing, but you don't need to really take much of a bath. You just want to, if you're near a stream and it's warm enough, jumping in that and rinsing off is wonderful. And you can see videos of me doing that in the Potomac, and I did it in another river too. That's just the most wonderful, exhilarating feeling to jump into a creek or a river and wash everything off. Just do what you can, you get by. Time of year. Check the weather. I'm in the South, so there are still trips that I can take in the winter months and not feel too uncomfortable, but I really don't want to be out there when it's really cold or if I know it's going to rain. I'm a fair weather cyclist. I don't mind a little bit of rain if it's warm, but I'm not going to go from probably November to February unless there's a very nice warm spell. You may be different, and that's fine, but there's another element of more clothing you got to take, where you're going to put it, where you're going to pack everything. So that's why I like doing the warm weather rides. And after it's all done, if you do drink, there's nothing better than a nice cold beer at the end of the ride. If you don't drink, just enjoy yourself, have a nice meal, whatever it is that you like, reward yourself and feel good about it. Cheers. I sure hope I haven't scared anybody off. My goal was the exact opposite. I wanted to share with you how easy it can be. And that first part of this video talked about that. Use your own bike, credit card, stay in a hotel, don't worry about camping, don't worry about cooking. Just go from point A to point B, see if you like it. And then you can start filling in the pieces if you like it. If you're already a camper and want to try the camping part, man, more power to you. So just to let you know, one of the guys that did the Gap and C&O Canal towpath with me he had to buy a bike. He had never been on any kind of bike trip at all. He was very athletic, or is very athletic, but he had a great experience and had no problems with it. And he has signed up to do a big event that's coming up in about 10 months. I'll tell you about that later, but we are going into some real wilderness area. So he's all in. You can easily get hooked on this stuff, and you can still stay within a budget. And if you have the financial means to add pieces here and there or go all out, it just makes the experience that much more comfortable. Cheers, and we'll see you out there on the bike.